Alrighty, boys. So day three, I just want to talk about how I feel about the league a little bit, and then we're going to talk about how I went with Bane as a league starter and just my current thoughts on it. So got level 90, well and truly into tier 16 maps. I haven't had too much time to play, by the way, guys. But so we're in tier 16 maps. I have taken down the Eater of Worlds, so it can do all the content to basically get you at the point where you're comfortably farming maps and stuff like that. I will do Searing Exarch today. Um, so we're Chaos Res capped, which is great. We're regular res capped, all that jazz. We don't really have spell suppression or anything like that. We're evasion and armor capped on this character. Not, oh, sorry, I shouldn't say capped, but we got decent evasion, decent armor. Also, we run a granite flask, so when they're both going, you got like 14k or whatever. It's pretty good. You know what I mean? It's a nice mix of the two. Damage is really mid. I'm going to put that out there. So bosses take a long time to go down. They're kind of comfortable, right? We are abusing the fact that we're Chaos Res capped, a Forbidden Taste early, so we sort of automate our mapping process a little bit. I'm just running 2 Quicksilvers and a Life Flask for anti-bleed. I've already got my Ugle done, so I'm, anti-freeze, which you guys, I really recommend you guys do as well. It saves a lot of deaths. You can be reactionary on Flask, but you're wasting your time. Anyway, guys, so how I feel about this character is, even though I could do those bosses, they were painfully slow. All right, so Eater of Worlds was like a 5-minute long fight, and yet again, it leaned on me being a good player and knowing the fight more than it did, was this build good damage-wise or anything like that. It was just basically I was spending the whole time just kind of going like this and keeping up a flask, hoping my Essence Drain would eventually hit the target, and I just had enough sustain to sort of get me through relatively deathless, right? And it was like, if I was a worse player, I definitely could have fucked up. If I didn't know what was going on, I was going to take multiple attempts to do this. You know what I mean? So I leaned on myself as a player, which, whilst that's an okay expectation to have, I do just want to point it out there that this thing is not a world beater, all right? So some people like to hype up Bane Occultist as like this super, good thing. I would say this thing lands at a B for me, right? It's a B tier skill. And B is not bad, by the way, so it means it's good, right? Because for some, it's like satisfactory as in like I can use this skill. It's it's measurable. It's kind of takes a decent amount of budget to get rolling, and then yet again, it's not an expert. This thing only so far has cost me what's this? That was 2 exalts. That was 60 chaos. I'd say like maybe I've spent, let's say, 3 exalts right now. You know what I mean? Maybe 3-4 exalts. I did a lot of self crafting. I save a lot of money doing things myself. You know what I mean? So maybe you could argue there's 4x worth of budget in this. 2 6 links is a little bit more than I'd normally like to spend. Maybe I got lucky on some of the prices. But all in all, it's like, I haven't had to do too much. Self-crafting will get you pretty far. See it again, the more you know what you're doing, the more money you save. I use my Conqueror's Efficiency, I just crafted it myself. I am getting ready to do my Cluster Jewel, so I bought a Cluster Jewel early, and I'm just reforging it until I hit what I want. So I saved some money there. But all in all, this character lands at a B tier, and I'll explain to you why a B tier instead of an A tier. So A tiers are like your Toxic Rains and maybe your Poison Concoctions, but that's mostly because they can specialize in something, right? And then your S tiers are your Detonate Deads, your Skelly Mages, because they have just as linear progression, if not better, and they scale into the late game, stuff like that. But I'm only referring to this in a league start scenario, right? Because obviously the thing is about Essence Drain and Toxic Rain is they scale to the point where you can do stuff like the Feared if you really want, but chances are you want to put at max 30x into them, find out the strategy you want to do, whether it be heisting or anything like that, make it extremely comfortable and get, your spell suppression gear and all that kind of stuff. You want to get some alternate quality gems. You might want to make the 10x bow, which is deterministic, so you can guarantee it every league. And, you want to do those things, and then you want to stop. So the problem for me with Essence Drain is that you don't really have like a 10x bow. You know what I mean? Like there's not some deterministic craft. It's going to easily put you at the point where you're getting, 3 to 4 times your damage you had before. So like now that I've got the Cane of the Unraveling and a level 21 gem, I can get alternate quality, but I can't push it too much higher than that. You know what I mean? It's like I've got a 6-link chest piece, and don't get me wrong, I can get a plus level over here. That's going to be a bit more damage. I can get chaos damage on the rings, and that's going to be a little bit more. I can get chaos damage down here, and that's going to be a little bit more. And then I get a cluster jewel, right? And that's going to be a little bit more again. But then I start running out of things to do, right? And then it's like, okay, well then I've kind of got to focus on defenses, and that'll net me maybe 2 to 3 times as much damage as I have now. But then there's basically like, there is a ridiculous staff I can craft if I want to spend 100x and I get lucky crafting it. Like that's the one where I'm like, you've spent too much money to make this thing work, and then even if you do get it to work, it's going to be really average at what it does. So when I play a Toxic Rain Raider, which is cheaper than this, faster than this, and has more damage, and even has better defenses, right? So Toxic Rain is at an A for that reason. Toxic Rain also can specialize, because it's a Raider, in movement speed. Also, you get dual options there for like progression. So you can also go a Pathfinder version and then abuse whatever you want on the Pathfinder. You know, typically speaking, it'll be that Master Surgeon and stuff like that. You've got a bunch of skill effect duration scaling and stuff like that, which you can use to do Veterans Awareness. You can do Supreme Decadence and go Hybrid. You've got all these options, whereas you do have some options on Essence Strain and Bane and stuff like that. But all in all, until you get like really, really good damage and you have the rest of those pieces there, like your clear speed is mid and your boss damage is mid. You know what I mean? So it's like when I'm mapping, I'm doing this, and it's like, oh, I missed a mob. I gotta very slowly do the whole screen, and oh man, there's another mob coming, and I'm always trying to distance myself. And because I'm not block capped and I'm not a fast character, right? So the Raider, as you guys know, is like, I'd be already at the other side of the map by now. I've got borderline, I think it's 150 to 200 movement speed. This thing here, I don't even think it cracks like 90 or something like that, man. Like, so my movement speed flask has to be up. Yeah, I've got 22 movement speed and like 62. It's cute. I basically perma need 2 flasks going. I don't have curse avoidance. I don't have 100% spell suppression. I don't have like any of the bells and whistles that the Raider does. The Raider is always moving at like 100 movement speed minimum and goes up to 160, and it's just a lot better, obviously. So it's like, I can work around having really good clear speed, and even if I just focus on maps or heist or some other thing, I can do a strategy with Toxic Rain. And yet again, it's also got better defenses and damage, so it's kind of unfair. But these things really drop them back. Like, I can boss comfortably and easily on this character, right? So Essence Strain, it's like, oh, you just put it down and kind of walk around for a little bit, keep your Bane up, and try and land an Essence Strain, which is a terrible experience, by the way. Like, Essence Strain is just a piece of shit to land. It's an uncomfortable skill. Like, when you're in maps and you're getting swarmed, and you've got these rares that all have Chaos Res now, because Chaos Res is, like, on every single mob, you're trying to, like, land this thing, and the monster's just leaping from here to here and, like, literally running after you. You don't have the time to turn around and do this. Like, very uncomfortable because you don't have a Mirage Archer. Whereas Toxic Rain, I can be on the run, and my Mirage Archer is killing things for me if I ever need to back up and reposition myself or put down totems. Whereas this character, if I haven't had the chance to do this, you know what I mean? It's no good. And then I can turn around and get stunned on this character, and my cast won't go off. Super annoying. Like, there's a whole bunch of issues with Essence Drain and Bane and stuff like that stop it from being like an A tier character. What it does succeed in, though, is it a viable league starter? Yes, it is a viable league starter. You can, on a very, very respectable budget, push yourself into the end game and do bosses semi-comfortably. And yet again, you can lean on your skill cap a little bit and learn it. It does succeed in being a cheap, viable league starter, and you can scale it to do slightly more content. But if you want to scale it into the ultra endgame, you are very, very limited on options, and it becomes to the point where it would be impractical to spend the money you would need to bring this into the endgame, to have like a subpar endgame, as you would spend that money elsewhere and just bring up a better character in the end. So my thoughts on it is, not really a good bosser, not really a good clearer. Does them okay, so you can use it. It's a viable league starter. It gets a B from me. Your A tiers are like your Toxic Rains, maybe your Poison Concoctions. I'll have to replay Poison Concoctions sort of see where that lands. I feel it's got better endgame scaling, just a bit faster, got more options. But Toxic Rain, because it's got a bow, it's got all these options that are deterministic and cheap. It kind of goes very, very quicker into the endgame and has more damage. And yet again, it has speed strats that you can use with it and stuff like that. Then your S tier is reserved for your Detonate Deads, your Skelly Mages, which they have a similar progression. They also work cheap on a budget, but they scale to infinity and beyond. You can put 600x into a Skelly Mage character, and it will just keep getting better. You know what I mean? You can literally put a Mage Blood on it. You can make it super defensive. Whereas this character, you know, I have to, if I want to get like an Aegis Aurora on this thing, which I would want, I would have to drop Staves. And that's a really powerful defensive layer in this day and age, and you just don't get that option with this character. You know, you can get EHP, you can semi-get spell suppression if you want, but then you're still this slow character that actually gets its defenses tested all the time. You're never really going to be a super zoomer. You can upgrade the clear. When you get more damage, you can get spell cascade, and that will make your clear feel a little bit less shit. But yet again, you need to be further in the budget to do this, so it's not an option you get at the start. So yeah, overall, guys, my thoughts are. Oh, sorry, I'll quickly show you this too before I forget. So toxic mobs, Chaos Weaver, Entangler, and now these other ones don't really matter. Arakali and Shikari Touch you don't really get, but there is a lot more Chaos Res in the game now, guys. And classic thing about Chaos Res is you don't really have a way to counter it, especially not if you're a hit-based version or anything like that. So wear damage over time. These mods are annoying, and you will definitely notice that the game is a little bit harder now and a little bit more punishing for Chaos starters and Poison of the like, right? So that's probably the only ones that they just listed there, but already that's, you know, 2 or 3 common mods that you'll see very, very often, along with what you can get on map modifiers and what you can get on primordial altars, or what do they call them? Eldritch altars, whichever one they've decided to stick with. But all in all, the character is working as intended. It's working on a relatively good budget. It is a B tier because I can't really make it do anything very, very well. So I would say if you want to start Bane, I probably will recommend it. It is good. It works. It's just not a superstar, okay? And it probably never will be. That's my thoughts. That's where we're at with the league. Oh yeah, by the way, how do I feel about all the changes? I'm not very happy with the rares. Obviously, they said they were, you know, balanced past and stuff like that. I don't know how they thought that they checked any of this stuff. Like then, you know, they talk about the mana drain guy and stuff like that. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff I want fixed. I will save that for another video because this is already going too long. But so good league start. It's good league starter. It's not very good. You know, it's not like one of the best or anything like that, but it does work. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out. I'll catch you all later.